Okay.
We are recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he's my other monster in that other box. He's Andy Asimakis. How are you?
I feel good. It's like old friends again.
Yes.
I'm back.
Reunited.
Very nostalgic. This episode, I feel.
Yes, this is everything has evolved since the last time we had our guest on the show. It's been 3 years. A lot has happened. A lot has happened.
God, yeah, that long.
An entire pandemic happened in between that time. Lots of stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, joining us this week is Jason Walsh. He's returning to the show. He's the creator of Monster Crown, a monster taming game set in a dark world where monsters rule and make pacts with humans in hopes of defeating an evil young woman seeking immeasurable power. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
Yes.
It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's amazing to see how this project has grown since all of the, well, we would like for this to happen, conversations that we had the last time, but now here you are, and gaining some steam, as it were, and I've played the game quite a bit in its earlier stages, and before we get into all of that, before we do a deep dive, I just want to let people know what they're listening to here. This is the Dual Screens podcast. This is the internet's #1 indie developer interview podcast hosted by two people you've never heard of, probably. The show posts each and every Friday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home Podbean. But you could also get it on Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, everything. You can get it everywhere, literally. And a video version on youtube.com/dualscreens TV. And if you'd like to support us with your hard-earned dollar bills, y'all, you can go to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler, Vegas Girl on Fire, and FNH Paul. We cannot continue to grow without all of your support, so every little bit helps. Now, Jason, we have a lead-off question here, and I have a very important question to ask you. What have I done to you that has made you hate me so much?
Well, should I start at like the lowbrow stuff, like just that your appearance, kind of just makes me sick a little bit, or should I go straight into the personal attacks?
Well, here's the thing.
Valid, fair criticism.
This is a fair response. Hours upon hours into the Monster Crown, I got my starter. He's a beautiful, beautiful monster. I got the pupper. I forgot his name. I'm not really good with names. Yes. Beautiful. Get into a fight. Kill a thing. Catch so many. You know how many rainbows I've caught? I have like 3 rainbow dudes. Like, it's awesome.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Better luck than me.
Yes. It's great. Then my starter just vanishes from my party. Just gone forever, like a lost puppy. Why did you do this to me? I feel like it was a personal attack.
I feel like I want to compliment you first off on very strategically omitting the part where you lost against the chief tamer and so lost your monster as a consequence of not being good enough. So nice job dancing around that one.
Wait a minute.
There's an easy mode available for people like you. You can just toggle it on.
Hold on a second. Chief Tamer. What the hell is a Chief Tamer? I didn't get up against no Chief Tamer.
It's gonna be a good show.
When was
you didn't?
It? I think I lost against one of those crazy, like the really strong, not Tamer, but like one of the strong monsters. It happened right after that.
There's been some bugs throughout early access.
I'm sure it was a bug. I'm just fucking around. Obviously, early access.
I'm not familiar with a bug that specifically makes you lose a monster outside those chief battles where you're supposed to. It could have happened. It could have happened for sure. But I personally apologize, and I can hook you up.
Well, should.
I'll hook you up with a rainbow K-Knight if you want. Just DM me your save, and I'll hook you up.
Look at that! Yeah. Well, it soured me, and I haven't played it since. So you better make some changes, all right? No, I'm just joshing. This game is really fucking cool. and it's really hard to explain to people because without using the P word.
You can use that. That's fine.
Okay.
That's the game. Intentionally starts you out in.
Technical difficulties, but we're back. Yes, so it's hard to explain what Monster Crown is without using the P word, but as I understand, that is by you kind of made it so that by design you are going to want to hearken to the Pokemon franchise. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when you start the game, it's built in a way that's very comfortable for people from a gameplay perspective, not so much like a lore tone perspective. But a Pokemon fan coming in will be very comfortable with the basic of the mechanics at the start. And then from there, we slowly walk people away from that as we introduce ways that we break the formula. And so you kind of begin to feel like a fish out of water, and you kind of need to adapt and learn how to play different than what you're used to expecting from like a Pokemon game.
Yeah, it definitely kind of turns it on its head. It does it pretty quickly. I know you think it's a little slower, but like from when I got into the game, I actually was playing it live. I was playing it on a stream, and a lot of people were like, "Whoa, what is this? What is this?" And then like the tone is really what slaps you right over the head just immediately. That this isn't your little brother's Pokemon. Like this is going to be a little darker. But the biggest thing that kind of you have your mechanic of capturing the monsters, but it's not as simple as just throwing a thing at them and they will join you. It's about impressing them. It's about doing something that will make them respect you. And then you sign a pact with them, which is really cool to think about. Like these monsters, these aren't just, creatures that are pets. These are fully sentient creatures that live with people and have their own societies and their own sort of backgrounds and all of that stuff. Can you get into that part of it a little bit more, the relationship between the people of this world and these monsters?
Sure. So yeah, from the very start of development, what I had in mind was kind of like if you go out into the woods and you find like a mountain lion or a bear, that's the kind of relationship you're going to have with these monsters. So you're not going to go up and hop on its back or necessarily feed an apple out of the palm of your hand. You're going to have to, watch yourself a little bit. It's wary. You're coming into its territory. So there's that natural intensity between both sides. So monsters, of course, are a bit more intelligent than animals. So they're kind of like, you could compare it to like a caveman-esque intelligence level, but not quite on human level, and they don't have a spoken language, but they can understand implicitly through these special symbols that were discovered that communicate to a monster that I want to form a pact with you. Together, we're going to travel, we're going to face challenges, we're both going to grow very strong, and in the end, after you've helped me accomplish my goals, I'm going to return you to your environment, where you will then be the alpha, of course, because you've grown very strong, you are far more powerful than your peers, you're going to be king of the ring kind of thing here. So that's kind of the basis of what pacts offer a monster. And it's, with a Pokeball, I think everyone can remember from the start of the Pokemon anime that Ash was up against, was it a Pidgey he tried to? Pidgeotto, right? It had this kind of aloof, standoffish nature, but once he got it in the Pokeball, it became obedient. So I wanted to kind of break down and analyze, how does that work? Does it really cause a total change in personality and alignment as soon as they're in that ball? I wanted to make that more of a cooperative and sensible sort of arrangement and thought process for both parties.
Yeah, like a mutual understanding between the two. Like I help you, you help me.
Yeah.
And you're not mine, I'm not yours, but like come hang out, come on this journey with me. It's really interesting. It's really interesting when you're playing this game because there are so many options to you right off the bat. There are so many monsters that you can go out there and just add as part of your core group. The one thing that I found a little bit overwhelming is understanding each of these monsters' roles. How are they uniquely useful in their own little ways?
Yes, so there's a type system that is actually much more basic than Pokemon's type system. You got 5 types, and they're kind of based on like the personality or temperament to that monster. And the type weakness strength system is they're weak to one type and strong against one type. So it's very basic, easy to get into. And part of that is because the whole system has been built around this new type system that's much more simple than Pokemon's type system. And to ask people to learn all new type charts, I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep it easy, but I also wanted to go away from that typical grass, water, fire. I didn't want to be in a situation where I was designing a rodent and trying to give it a fire edge or an electric edge. And I just feel like there's so many games out there that do that in the vein of Pokemon. I wasn't going to offer anything new in that realm by making another, water type, whatever animal. So we have the types that are malicious, brute, will, relentless, and unstable. So each one in that chain is strong against the one before it and weak to the one after it. So the malicious type is kind of calculating, it wants to manipulate you. The brute type, that's just all about putting up fists and getting ready to fight, beats it. Will type is like a very strong fortitude, like a shield. So the brute type doesn't have an advantage over that because it can't just break it in one punch. Whereas relentless is very athletic, so it can kind of wear down the will type. So that's the kind of relationship you get across these monsters and the type system.
You mentioned how at the onset this feels like a traditional Pokemon game, but then that's just to get you essentially comfortable, it's familiar, but then the more you play, it feels different. Can you discuss how you took the formula further than what many would think of this type of the genre?
Sure. So Pokemon, I see a lot of it like a bit of a cradle. It's comfortable. When you're in that world, you can rely on the Pokemon being fundamentally friends to you. There's friends all around you, people in the world that want to help you. And that's kind of similar to the start of Monster Ground. You have your family around, you got some weaker end monsters that can come on your side. It's a bit like that cradle. On the other side, you've got a game like Dragon Warrior Monsters, Dragon Quest. That's kind of this fantasy. There's castles, there's wizards, there's deceit. That sort of thing. So I kind of wanted to start people in a more Pokemon basis where they were comfortable and walk them more towards a traditional RPG, but also a little bit more of a hostile world. So finding that middle ground where Monster Crown truly is a process that we've explored as we've developed the game, and you'll become familiar with as you play through it. And this is something I haven't talked about, but I was just playing the post game the other day, just testing a few things out, and I was amazed at how different tonally the post game feels to the early game, because you feel like you're all alone. You feel like you got no one to help you. You're on your own. You got to stand up against forces that you shouldn't be able to beat. So yeah, there's a kind of whole process of walking people through there. And we do find our ground somewhere in the middle. It's not overly magical. It's not overly friendly. In the beginning of the game, you see someone get killed by a monster. So someone could see that and kind of think it's trying to be an edgy game. There's going to be a lot of death and dismemberment, but really the violence doesn't escalate beyond that point. So you meet people that aren't your friends. You uncover plots that are bigger than you, that are very dangerous with hostile people, but the game doesn't become edgy and gory either. So somewhere in the middle ground there's the Monster Crown tone. And I've kind of always imagined it tonally similar to Full Metal Alchemist, where there's very dark, like crimson kind of plots behind the scenes, but also there's lighthearted moments and there's humanity shown between people. That's kind of what Monster Crown is always trying to be about. Somewhere between there, between Dragon Warrior Monsters, between Pokemon, and not quite like either.
And you also marry this with a particularly... it's a meticulously planned visual style too, because your palette, the color palette that you guys chose for this, it really nails that home. Because you do have these vibrant looking monsters, these very intricately designed, lots of shade, lots of dynamic. What's the word I'm looking for? It's got a lot of depth to it, but also your color palettes are very muted. There's a lot of gray, there's a lot of green and brown, and like a lot of just, these are monsters. These aren't these fantastical fairy creatures. Like these are, this feels like it could live in this world, and the people kind of reflect that as well. The way they're designed, the way everything that goes from the buildings, everything kind of matches well together. Can you talk about how you got to the visual style that you guys chose?
Sure. I'll tell you right off that it was not easy. When I started the project, I was not an artist. I'd never done any art before. Thankfully, I worked with a few people that were much more skilled than me and learned a bit from them. They contributed to the project, and I spent a lot of time trying to improve on my own. There are times in the game that I was in charge of everything you see. I did all the art of the monsters, of the NPCs, of the overworld. Thankfully, due to the Kickstarter, we've had someone come in and revamp all the overworld art, so the tile sets, that sort of thing. But it really depends on finding the people that share your vision, people that grew up with these 90s monster taming games, that have a lot of nostalgia for them, that see kind of the more complex, darker depths of it, and can imagine sort of an RPG, but kind of grounded world.
Right.
So a world that's about people, it's about this less developed society. And the people that I've been lucky enough to work with, one guy that was really responsible for all that world art is, I don't know if he'd want me to say his real name, but his name is Zybuka on Twitter.
Okay.
And he's an amazing artist. And another artist I've worked with, he goes by Arix. And they help really bring the world to life, but they get what it is to have this like 90s style RPG anime-esque world. So when you find the right people to work with, they show you things and you don't have a lot to say because they get it. But when I work with someone that doesn't quite get it, I seem very picky and handholdy because you need to give them all sorts of details. So it's really key to find people that get what you mean, because when you get someone that gets your exact vision and have similar visions themselves, it's almost effortless and it's nothing but pure fun to create this world, bring it to life. So I'm very fortunate that I've been able to improve my skills a bit, but also all the fantastic people I've been able to work with. The tone we're going for really is like the sort of world you see in the early Dragon Ball, a lot of 80s and 90s manga, the early Pokemon concept art, and yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're going for there. You find the right people to work with and you can really bring it to life. You just need to constantly have an eye to tone. Hold on to the exact tone you want to have and make sure that you don't ever compromise on it. And thankfully, it's all shining through really well. I'm really happy with where it's gone.
So what have you learned? Because you've gone from this guy that once sent me a DM on Reddit saying, "Hey, I got this game I'm working on. You should check it out. We could talk sometime," to a Kickstarter campaign, to now early access, to pushing towards a final release date. What's that ride been like for you? What have you learned in that over this 3-year long journey with making this one game for so long that you're just knee deep in, with fan feedback and all that stuff taken into account?
Well, it's been a very long adventure. It started with me wanting to make a little breeding demo with kind of a story pack tacked on that was a bit of a parody of like monster taming games. And the main character spoke and there was a lot more jokes. Like at one point your dad says, "Why can't you be stronger like, my neighbor's son and help out more around the farm? Like you're kind of weak," right?
Sounds
And
like my dad when I was growing up.
Oh yeah? Yeah,
I
my
I
dad.
was always compared to other people in the neighborhood or cousins or neighborhood kids, like that kid's just great and you're not.
That's brutal. I hope that hasn't had any lifelong impacts on your self-esteem or anything.
No. I'm also a middle child, so it's all par for the course for me.
Gotcha. There's always a comparison.
You are so very much the middle child. It's scary. By the way, my kids just had to come home. My dad had to go get my mom, and my wife's not home. So he just dropped off the kids back at my apartment. And
are you still good?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Listen, I got a mute button. It's fine. I could handle it. But I just wanted to let you know that there is some chaos happening here at the Fontana household. But it's okay. My daughters took a snack and went in the bedroom.
Well, he was talking about his journey.
No, I know. I was listening. Can you go in a little bit more about the creative vision journey from 2016 to now? Like, how did you morph this from its concept to right now what we have, which it is sort of different from even when we spoke, outside of the art and getting some people on there to fix up some of the art. What have you learned over the course of this from a gameplay and design perspective?
Well, design perspective has really been something. I had no idea about game design in the beginning. I knew just from playing games what felt good and what didn't, what attracted me towards games and what genres didn't attract me. But through the whole development, man, that's quite a question. I've learned so much by studying things. I've also learned a lot from an art perspective, but a lot of what informs the game design is the initial concept. So you start with a monster taming RPG, but where did those monsters come from? How did those people get there? Is this a huge world? No, it takes place on a large island continent, and that's the whole world. Okay, well, how did the world form? How did the people get here? How did evolution take place here? What were the gods thinking when they made this world? Like asking all those questions, you start to build a tone, an idea for how this world came to be, and you tie it in with the things you've always wanted as a kid to be able to do in these games and wrap it together. And hopefully it comes out in a way that doesn't make for really boring gameplay. Because you can have the best, coolest idea, and then you put together a prototype and you try it out, and it's no fun. And like, yeah, okay, great idea. Like maybe you should go write a book or something because this is not a game, even though it's a cool concept. So it takes a lot of obsessive envisioning how things are going to feel and play. And you take it totally different with an RPG, which is much more forgiving when it comes to tactile feedback and how it feels with your controller than, say, like a platformer or an action game. And I've had a few people play the game, especially early on in early access, and say, wow, I could feel the part where you suddenly got better at designing games. So,
Really?
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, they play in a few hours and they're like, oh, that's right there. That's where you figured out how to make a good game. And I was like, it really blew my mind.
I don't know if this is the same moment, but I remember when I was playing through it in the beginning, it felt very, and you actually alluded to this earlier, where you're just thrown into this world and you kind of have to figure out what's going on. And that's very much what it felt like. It felt like I was, I felt like I was learning all of the systems, all of the world, but it felt like I was doing it in the wrong order. Like I almost felt like whatever I was doing, I was like, this can't be right. I can't be going in the right direction. This doesn't seem right. And then all of a sudden you go up against a thing that's like level 30 or whatever it is, and it kicks your ass, and you're like, oh, I'm not supposed to go that way. But as you're learning, as you're going through, you realize, oh, here's the path, here's the story, here's where it's not that you're not supposed to go that way. It's that if you go that way, you learn a lesson. That lesson is part of the journey. And if you don't go that way, because accidentally you don't, and then later on you come across that thing, you're going to have a very different experience than the next person, or, whatever. So you have this sort of, it's almost like a marble that you throw in in a bowl, like a half bowl. When you throw the marble and it's trying to figure out its path, and then all of a sudden it hits its inertia, and then it starts going like a pendulum. Like that's what it feels like. It's like, oh, chaos. Oh, I get it. If that makes any sense. I don't know. I think I'm just rambling. I have a coffee and a monster in my bloodstream right now, so I apologize.
That's a really good example. That marble thing is like a really brilliant example, if you ask me.
Oh, thank you.
Sometimes I get just the mental model,
Yeah.
Like everyone loves mental models, ways to imagine different things in life that hopefully you can apply cross topic. Right. And that marble one's a really good one. Yeah. So that might be what this person was sort of describing.
Yeah.
That in the start of the game, because I wanted the game too, if I'm going to make a game that's just like really deep and for the oldest people that grew up with the Pokemon games and know what it's like to play the monochrome version and have that sense of creepy world around it. Because if you're a kid and you grow up now and you watch Pokemon for 3 years on TV before you play the game, you already know what the world's about, kind of. But if you're in 1998 and you're booting up Pokemon for the first time and you might have seen 2 or 3 episodes, like me, your mind kind of paints a different view of this world, right. And you can read more creepiness into it or more seriousness into it. But when I was designing the game, I thought that everyone will be very seasoned. So I could introduce fairly complex mechanics right off the bat because they understood all the basics.
Right.
What I found is that people do still want to be introduced. I saw a Steam review and someone said, I've never played a monster taming game before, but I really like this one. But it's a bit confusing in the beginning. And I would have bet you $1 million 3 years ago, no one's touching this that hasn't played another monster taming game. These are the
Right.
people that have played hundreds of hours of various games that are coming into this. So I definitely made some miscalculations in a good way, because the game's more popular than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, like
Well,
that would have been a great thing to have in mind from the start, for sure.
it's hard to foresee that, because the genre is 25 years old. Like, if you really think about it, it's in its zenith for 25 years, and you have one mega popular franchise that you assume everyone is gonna get in and play at some point. But the power of Steam in itself, and the indie game scene, like, people are buying games just look at Andy's backlog. Like, he'll just buy like 3 games because he liked the way the art looked. He's like, oh, sprites, purchase.
Yes.
And then he just goes in and plays it. Like, there are so many different ways to get your hooks in a new audience, and that's incredible. That, like, has that informed you? Has that changed your design philosophy as you got deeper into development? Did you change a couple things based on that feedback, or was it all just, you know what, it's chaos in the beginning, but as they go, they'll get their feet wet and they'll be more comfortable?
Well, I added the introduction when you first start the game, where your dad tells you about the relationship between man and monster.
Mm-hmm.
That was added a bit as a response to that. A few tutorials were added. An in-battle tutorial that explains the basics of how to play and stuff like that, because we did have people coming in that were totally green to the genre.
Right.
And I think right from the start, maybe I was naive that more people would have experience than I thought, or we'd hit some kind of like group of people that were just like me. But I imagined a lot of people that played hundreds of hours of games, min-max things, and very introspective gamers that come across every new interaction in the world, every new mechanic, and really think, okay, philosophically, in-game philosophically, why is this the case? And I don't want to handhold those people, because those people are very smart. They can get right to the bottom of it. But at the same time, you don't want to totally alienate new players where they're like that marble going everywhere at the start. So we have added a lot of tutorials and things like that. I think it would have been good to have a wider beta test in the very beginning, because during the Kickstarter, we didn't really get this sort of feedback, and I don't know if it's because it hit the people that were ideal
who's
players.
Who's going to kickstart that game? You know,
Yeah.
you're going to get the Pokemon veterans. Like, that's who you're getting to kickstart a game. Ooh, this is an interesting take. I've been playing Pokemon for 30 years. Yeah, let me back this bad boy. I mean, that's what happened with us, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
I think you're exactly right. And I read this Reddit comment once where someone was talking about a new game that came out, and I don't even remember what game. And they're like, they had this new gameplay style, but you know what? They didn't touch on this, or they didn't do this with it. So it was a missed opportunity. And that echoed in my head, missed opportunity. So during the Kickstarter and right after it, I thought about the way I'm doing things differently with monster data, with real crossbreeds and real divergent species. Brand new species coming to be. That's a new thing, really, in the genre. So if I'm not doing something I could do with that, that's that missed opportunity. So I became very obsessed with not having any missed opportunities to the best of my ability. And so we ended up with a game with like 10 million features, you know, and you got to explain each one and get people used to them. And some of them are tucked away way at the end of the game. So some players won't even find them. And if players don't find them, they'll still have plenty of features and feel like they had a whole game. But those are there to uncover too. So I think that there was definitely a bit of a case of over ambition, and just putting, I think if we had one more feature in this game, it would literally be too much. Or maybe we're one or two past too much, but they're not all essential. As many of these systems as I could, I made them totally optional. If you don't want to do breeding in this game, which sounds strange, you don't have to. You do it once at the start just to establish you know how to do it and pass a little gate. And then you can never touch it again if you don't want to. You can grind up your monsters, or you can give them stat boosting items. You can just use fusion instead of breeding. You can fight wild tamers that show up in the wild, or you can completely ignore them. You know, everything is optional. So I hope that that makes up for some of the what can feel like a drowning depth of mechanics and features that are available to you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is hard to combat as a gamer. Like, when you go in and you see that something exists, you feel like it's you have to learn that thing. Like that was one of the things that stood out to me right away was with the breeding situation. You're like, wait a minute, okay, so I could do this breeding, but I don't see the part where I need to do it aside from the first time. Like, where did this go? Aren't you going to make me do this again? Like, that was part of the crazy marble for me as I got a little deeper. I mean, outside of Pokemon, I don't play this genre very much at all. And you know, they have like the daycare centers, like, here's how you breed. What's the point? I don't do it usually. I usually put something in there if there's a Pokemon you could only get from breeding, like a baby Pokemon, whatever it is. Otherwise, I don't touch that stuff because I'm not a min-max trying to get the perfect nature versus like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm not a competitive player. I don't need a perfect Pokedex or whatever. So like that kind of stuff, I could see. I don't need that. Like, I just do it for the way I want to play it. That's how I do it. But in Monster Crown, you give so much freedom to that, and you're not really pushing players in any one direction. That really this could be a completely different game for 5 different people. They could play they could have their own. Oh, you guys, you don't breed. Oh no, I only use fusion. No, I don't do anything. I just go out in the forest and beat the hell out of everybody, and then I have the strongest monsters. Like, that's how I play. Oh, whatever. Like, you could have completely different ways of playing this game, and I think that's pretty cool. Because that kind of makes it a little bit more. It's like these games that try and tell you that choice matters, and it affects the story. That your choice matters and it affects your gameplay experience, not necessarily the story, but it affects how you play the game. So it gives you options. You go, oh, I'm going to do a breedless playthrough. I want to do, whatever, like, breeds only, whatever. There's a lot of options there. That's pretty cool.
Thanks for that. I say that the number one design philosophy we had, besides making a monster taming game, was I wanted to make a game that had, maybe it'd be a bit over the top for me to say, responsive depth. But if you go in there and you want to do a lot of breeding, then suddenly you find there's a whole new depth and layers to breeding and more things you can get through it than you ever thought. And if you just want to do battling, you can find, okay, there's some ridiculous challenges in this game. So I want to give people, just like at the start of the game where you get the comic that profiles you and lets you pick a monster depending on what choices you've made. The whole game is a choice. What do you want to do? Because that's an okay way to do it. There's never any sort of like a funnel. You need to use this feature, just like you mentioned. It's, you play the game how you do it and how you want to have fun. And if you don't want to fight those wild tamers, you find just random battles without huge rewards or free monsters, you find it boring, then don't do it. But if you find that really fun to beat other tamers, or your role play a bit, like, I'm the toughest tamer around here, I'm going to go around and beat everyone. Like, just do that, and the game offers you ways through to see all the content, no matter which way you take it.
It must be fairly flattering too when you have newcomers saying to you, I have not touched this genre before, when I'm sure they know that Pokemon exists in the world around them. Like, they've seen videos or trailers, or it's in their mindset, but they say, well, here comes along this game, and I'm going to take my chance with this genre for the first time on Monster Crown. What is that like, seeing someone who there's a decades history of taming games, and they go, you know what? This is the first game I want to play in this genre. It's making me curious somehow.
I think to a more self-confident person, that would be a huge boost. But for me, when I read a post that says this is the premier monster taming game, or this is the best monster taming game, or this is the first monster taming game I play, I smile for a second and say, wouldn't that be nice if that was true? But I'm sure they made some kind of mistake. And then I read the rest and try to find the feedback. What are they going to tell me that I've screwed up? So I can go look at it and fix it up and make sure it's good and respond to their feedback. Because they're clearly, they made a mistake there typing that, or they're thinking something else, or maybe they thought this was a Dragon Ball game or something. I don't know. But I just can't ever see myself as like this game designer. I guess I have that what's it called,
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah. I'm like, oh wow, I tricked this person into buying the game, and I tricked them into thinking this part was good. So I'll make sure they get their money's worth, and I'll action the feedback they give. So hopefully they don't get mad later when they figure out that I tricked them into buying a monster taming game.
Does it drive you a little crazy, or the team a little crazy, when you want to address so many situations? So like, because you seem like the kind of guy that just wants to make everyone happy, in a way.
Yeah.
But you haven't necessarily sacrificed creative vision in it at all. So like, how do you balance that? Like, that's got to be...
It's tough.
Yeah, that's got to be horrible.
It's a really insightful question. I got to compliment you on that. It's because I see a comment and like people say, wow, they got a really responsive developer, because I go in and reply to everything people post on the Steam forums. But like everything I find, and if I can't respond in that moment, I leave the tab open so that I don't forget about it. So later that day or the next day, I'll see it and I can respond to it. And yeah, it'd be really easy to just change the game, but I guess I have a vision for what I want the game to feel like in a spiritual perspective, in a tonal perspective, and what I want people to be able to do. And so when people come in and they give criticism, if the criticism fits within that framework, I say, okay, well, tonight I'm staying up late and I'm incorporating that adjustment to make that feel right. Or I need to sit down and really study what they said to find out if the real issue is something further upstream and go fix that instead. And it's not quite what they described the problem to be, but it's because they feel this way because of that thing over there. So if it fits within that vision, I want to hurry hard and go do it. But if it doesn't fit within that vision, I just have to conclude that they just didn't really get what this was supposed to be. But sometimes you do have to make changes that aren't necessarily what you totally want to do. And that, what I mean by that is I had a lot of people come into the game, and because it offers you so much freedom, they'll stay in the first couple of areas and they'll grind their monster up to level 50. And they do that because they can, not because the game tells you to, and not because they have any reason to, not because the game's so tough that you need to grind up that much, but they just do it because they can. And then they play through the game and they say, that was easy. Everything should auto scale to give me a challenge. So auto scaling on its face is a good idea, but also I always kind of saw grinding in an RPG, like I like to spend 10-15 minutes doing it. Not a huge amount of time, but just a little bit of time. And I guess that just feels like a Rocky movie or something, in the training sequence where you're powering up a bit, you're ready to take on that challenge. So if the game always scales with you, that strengthening phase has no purpose because you're just strengthening the enemies too.
Right.
So the solution I put in for that is I put in a level cap that raises after each challenge. And that cap, after many playthroughs, I find I did not hit it. People at our publisher didn't hit it. A lot of players didn't hit it, but the cap was there. So ideally the cap is there to stop those people from completely over leveling. But the people that don't go out and do crazy grinding, they never even know it exists. And similarly, there's people that said that they just went out and got every monster and sat there and just bred the monsters over and over. And the game was super boring. And I don't know why they did that, why they didn't just go do other things and come back later. But they just wanted to do that, and then they saw the monsters. So we added in a little limit for how often you can breed. And it's so generous that people say, why do you even have that functionality? Because I never am limited. I always have enough points built up that I can do breeding. But it does offer a little bit of limit to those people who are then stimulated to go out and explore. So when you try to accommodate all playstyles, you also get all types of players. And you could just say, well, that doesn't line up with my vision. But then they can write negative Steam reviews, and then your game gets seen 1/10 as often, and then 1/10 the amount of people buy your game, and you make 1/10 the profit on it to pay artists or pay people you work with to tune things up or take time to polish things. And so when you're not huge and you're trying to keep everyone happy, sometimes you have to do a little adjustment like that that's maybe not perfect, and some people might say, wow, why did you do that? It's not even limiting me. I don't even know why that's limits there. But you're on a ship and you're trying to keep everyone happy and keep the ship going. And people do have the power to sink your ship.
It reminds me of like raising a young kid, because like bear with me here.
Sure.
It's like, oh, I love this coffee table. It's my favorite coffee table. And you're like, well, I don't like this coffee table because my kid just slammed its head on the coffee table. You're like, oh, well, I'm not going to get rid of the coffee table, so I'll put like these little corner pads on the coffee table. Well, okay, now my kid is hitting a soft spot. Cool, that's great. But now my kid is climbing the coffee table. All right, well, I'll move the coffee table. So now I move the coffee table. Now the coffee table's in a little different spot, so it can't climb from the coffee table to the couch. So it's a little further up. All right, cool. That's done. Now the kid's playing with crayons and is now drawing on your coffee table. Well, fuck. Well, all right. Well, now I'll get a plexiglass topper for my coffee table so that the little shit can't draw on my coffee table. Like, that's what you do. And then eventually you have a happy baby that could just live in its environment and be fine.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have to get rid of the kid. In this.
Well, you can't, because the kid is, you don't want to have 1/10 of the kid. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really similar. Surprising, but that example is really similar. It's a bit like designed by committee, or just haptic feedback, I guess. When things get banged, you smooth down that edge.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you got a round coffee table. But hey, you love your kid.
And you love the coffee table.
You did mention a publisher before. What was that experience like for you? From someone that's
I don't think you had that when we started, when we last spoke.
No.
Yeah.
So
you went from, I can't draw sprites too well and I can't program all that well, but I had this idea for a game, to Kickstarter, early access, release, and now publisher backed project. How did they get on board? What was that conversation like between you and them?
Well, I had 2 publishers reach out to me before the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, what if a publisher comes in and tries to control things?
Right.
It'd be so easy too for someone that's only thinking in the short term. They can say, damn, just do like twice as many cute monsters, make it a bit more friendly. We want that Pokemon audience, not really taking the time to understand your vision or the genre as a whole, but more like saying, how superficially can we, certainly there's publishers out there that see your car and say, well, I want to put you in races. And instead of giving you a race car, they say, we're going to put a white stripe on your car and then you'll be ready for the races,
Right.
Not truly wanting to understand the depth of it. So we had a few more publishers reach out to us after the Kickstarter was a success, that heard about it. And Sedesco seemed to be the one that gave us a lot of creative control. They said, this is going to be your baby. We're not going to tell you something's wrong. We're not going to tell you to change things. We're going to make suggestions if we see something. But if you say no, then that's it, right? So be it. You're the guy that made it into something that we found compelling. So we trust you to continue steering that ship.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept working on it, and we kept meeting, and they offered great support. And my battery is about to die. I got to grab my power cable. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I'll pick up right where I left off.
That's fine. That's fine.
This has been a hell of a show.
This has been a great show. The silence is good for editing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. Are we?
We're still rolling.
Are we just?
We're still rolling.
Okay,
Yep.
still rolling. We can
Yep.
just cut out a bit of the dead air. I guess.
Yes, indeed.
We shall.
I wouldn't have forgotten my power cable if someone had to write a Steam review saying, "Hey, you really need to remember to take your power cable around." I would have remembered that. But yeah, Sedesco, they totally respected the creative vision behind it, and they had a couple of producers that really understood the monster taming genre really well. And as I kept working on it and improved the art and that sort of thing, I think they got even just more enthusiastic about it as time went by, and they thought, well, this is an even bigger and higher quality game than we even thought. So I think that really made them happy too. But yeah, they were the ones that came to us with really a priority for keeping the creative control and offering the support we needed. And they had a lot of good people that just were fans of the genre and understood it. And big shout out to our original producer Junie and our current producer Blossom, who are both huge Monster Taming fans, and we geek out on the regular in our meetings about Monster Crown.
Awesome. Andy,
Is it time?
we're getting there. We're almost there. Do you have one more question regarding Monster Crown before we get into our rapid fire segment of the show?
I think a good place to end it is like, when is the full release date for this bad boy again? When is it like fully coming out to the world?
What date is it that this is live now? That people are hearing me say this. What's the date today?
That's a really
That's
good
true.
question.
This could be it could be out now for as much as
Okay, well it's October 12th. That's the date.
This
so
game is
a little
out
over
now.
a month.
Okay, so let me think. Yeah, let's think about this. Hold on. Let's look at this calendar. 12th. The 12th. Okay, is it Tuesday? Should we come out the 15th? No, we can't.
No, this game is out before this
Yes.
interview goes up.
All right,
So
it's out.
Congrats on the launch, Jason. The game is amazing.
Thanks.
We love it
Thanks.
so much.
Yeah,
do.
Think about it. By the time this podcast goes live, you'll have like at least 2 yachts. At least.
you know, I try not to think about how far away the release date is, because I'm like, well, I'll just work really hard every day, and I'm sure we'll be there on time. But man, thinking about the time after 5 years,
It's crazy.
it's like, first of all, I don't believe
God.
you, but second of all, like, holy shit, am I doing everything I'm supposed to from the past? Because now you know if I did or not, because it's out. But yeah, our Kickstarter ended up being 10 times the goal we had set.
Right.
And I said on your podcast at the time, I don't know if we're gonna make our goal. And you said, yeah, you know, you're definitely gonna make your goal. Don't worry about it. So tell me, how does the release go in your crystal ball?
You know, I think it's gonna go great.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's gonna go really
That's
good.
fantastic news.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna work at all now because you said
having-
that. I'm just gonna sit
I'm
back.
telling you, man, having the game run at 120 FPS on that Series X on Game Pass, huge thing. We saw it happen. It happened already. Congratulations on that too. There you go. This is wishful thinking. There you go. We'll
Thanks.
will it into existence. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't
What
know if
is
any of
what
that
is
happened.
rapid fire?
Wait until you know. Rapid fires.
Okay.
Wait. You just wait. Rapid fires. We ask you questions. You give us answers. It's as simple as that. And we'll start off easy. Jason, what is best cheese?
Cottage cheese.
Oh,
Weird. You are old. Okay.
Weird, but if
bold
you
answer.
mix cinnamon and Splenda into your cottage cheese, very low carb, very delicious. And I don't mind the texture. Some people do, but
Nah, I don't mind the texture
Yeah.
either.
Interesting.
Andy?
If a song could play every time you walked into a room, what song would that be, Jason?
damn. What's every time I walk into a room, man, I don't know. I listen to such obscure music too.
Could be like from a game or a movie or, you know, an instrumental.
Could be just tubas.
Let's go with that. Yeah, tubas. I love brass. I love brass
There you go.
instruments. So any
There you
sort
go.
of brass would be great.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So you seem to have weird food opinions. So is breakfast cereal a soup?
No, why would it be a soup?
I don't know. Why wouldn't it?
Well, there's no milk in soup.
Why not? There's cream.
But I mean,
There's creamy
is
soups.
there any precedence for it?
Sure, there's creamy soups.
But it's milky soups.
They're made out of milk, cream sauces, cream broths.
You need to define too, where does soup end and stew begin? Because some
Sure.
stews do have milk.
Yes.
It's true.
What we did recently, and I don't know how recently or how in the future this episode this episode I'm referring to airs, but somebody did say no, it's a stew. So
Really?
so you're on a interesting path, a path previously paved. Andy,
Do you personally see it as a soup? Because if so, follow-up question.
yes.
If I have cookies and milk, and there's a lot of like cookie pieces in the milk by the time I'm done, has that become soup as well?
Oh.
It's interesting.
Oh. And then you've just made a smaller version of Cookie Crisps.
That's right.
What just happened in
That's
that
right.
scenario.
That might be soup too, yeah.
Which also might be soup.
These are the questions of our time.
I feel like chewed food shouldn't be part of a soup dish. And like,
Well, it's not chewed; it just comes off the cookie.
Well-
You don't think I double dip, do you?
it's
I'm not a
your own
monster.
milk. It's your own milk. I would sure hope you double dip. That's the only circumstance where double dipping is appropriate. Andy, get us off the cereal.
Well, I do want to say one thing, Stephen. Do you call, if you eat it at dinner time, do you call it dinner cereal or breakfast cereal still?
I just say I'm having cereal for dinner. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, best cereal.
Oh, best cereal, Jason. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go with that. What's your favorite cereal?
Well, the best cereal, and I'm saying this is not subjective. This is the best cereal. Is
Okay.
Raisin Bran. Raisin Bran.
Oh.
But oddly enough, the off-brand Raisin Bran has more raisins. So the off-brand Raisin Bran is actually the superior Raisin Bran.
You
And
really
if you put a banana in it,
Can I ask you a question?
So insightful.
sure.
Whose grandfather are you? Because you have the spirit. You are an
all of our
old.
grandfathers.
What we call that here is an old soul. That you have an old soul. I like it. It's very, very nice.
Well, I like to keep life very simple. So when I eat out, it could be any number of things that you would probably also like. But when I order groceries and I have food home, I like to figure out a few things that I can eat every day. Eat the same thing every day. So I try to only let myself pick things that aren't too bad for me or, cover a few different bases so I can eat it every single day. And I'm just someone that never gets sick of the taste of things. So that's kind of why I probably seem grandpa-ish.
Stuck in your ways. I get it. I get it.
Do you have a cane to bang on the ceiling when the kids make too much noise?
Damn it.
Oh man, the people that live above us are so loud. I've banged on the ceiling and whew. One of these days I'm gonna be in the upstairs. One of these days.
Moving on up.
Moving on up, indeed. Let's talk about superpowers. Would you rather have the ability to teleport or the ability to time travel?
Any reasonable limits on the time travel?
No, just
Usually there's
good, nice little theories. You could go back, you could go forward, whatever.
I think teleport feels cooler, but time travel, I don't feel like there's anything that teleport can solve that time travel can't also.
Right, because where are you teleporting to solve a problem?
Yeah, the
Well, to
teleportation.
get somewhere quicker or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or to
But I could I could time travel to there 1 minute after my previous act, and assuming that I'm not causing any paradoxes.
I mean,
I think it's superior.
The paradox theory is just that. It's a theory. So we have to assume that the only thing we know in this scenario is that you could either go backwards or forwards. We don't know. Never mind. Let's not get into time travel theory. Andy?
What is the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself?
Oh, a good one. It's like really dumb. I don't know if it's good to like hear about, but it's really dumb.
Yes.
So when I was 15, 16 years old, so old enough to be reasonably intelligent about how the world works on a basic level. I really liked eating mandarin oranges in a can. It's really good. So I didn't have a can opener. A can opener was broke, so I had to use like a combination of scissors and old knife to kind of open up the can.
Don't like where
I
this
really
is
wanted
going.
mandarin oranges. Anyway, there was this little sliver of metal that came off. That I guess was part of the cutting action. And for some reason, I thought that I could grab the metal piece and kind of just like crack it or tear it off to clear it out of the way after opening the can. And instead, of course, my human hands just slid up the metal and sliced my thumb open. And I still had the scar, and it was like blood going everywhere, and I had to get stitches. And it was like so dumb because everyone was like, why did you do that at all? You didn't even injure yourself doing anything reasonable. Like you decided to do this totally gonna hurt you thing, and you're the only one that was surprised.
I'm getting my my injury last summer with the mandolin when I cut half my thumb off trying to peel potatoes.
Really?
And the scar still hurts.
Well, yeah, but Andy, at least you were doing a normal thing with a sharp object and fucked it up.
That's true.
Right.
Like you know, it's meant to be used the way you used it.
Right, but it was jamming, and I was like, let me see if I can just testosterone my way through this and make it work. And then I put all that sheer force into one thrust, and then it was potato and flesh in the bowl.
Oh man.
Okay.
So did you lose any pieces, or could they just stitch
Oh
it
no,
back?
a whole chunk came clean off and had to like
Oh my god.
it was such a weird spot you couldn't stitch. It was like they just wrapped it in some weird like artificial skin goop thing, and it was like give it like a few weeks and it'll slowly heal. But
and does it look normal, or does it look weird?
It looks normal-ish. Yeah.
All right. One enthusiastic thumb up for you, Andy. Would you rather visit a faraway planet or explore the deepest parts of our ocean?
Is there life on the planet?
Oh, but that's the risk you take, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would find out by exploring it.
Yeah.
Like you could discover like a kraken or like a megalodon underwater, or like some ancient sea, or Atlantis even.
An ancient
Or who made the
civilization.
bloop?
Mm-hmm.
The bloop.
Yeah, the bloop, right? You know about the bloop?
What's the
I
bloop?
think I do.
It's like this deep sea sound that was incredibly loud and mimics the structure of like a mammalian, or some kind of like fish or living sea creature made the sound. It wasn't like glacier moving or rock scratching together or something dropping in the ocean. Like it was this incredibly loud biological sound.
Whoa.
So you could discover that potentially in the ocean. Based on the Fermi paradox, I think I got to go with the ocean because I have a higher chance of actually finding something. And I don't find rocks that interesting.
Gotcha.
So yeah, like super colossal squid or
I'm into it.
yeah. Oh, there's a creepy story called The Carpet. It might be called The Black Carpet. And it's like supposedly this real story about this deep sea carpet creature that's like a amalgamation of many multicellular organisms. Anyway,
That's
whoever's
terrifying.
listening to this, if you like that sort of creepy deep sea stuff, look up the Black Carpet.
There's got to be a way to figure out how to get down there. I'm telling you. Got to figure it out. Andy, what do you got?
Let's see. Let's see. Would you rather discover something new or invent something new? I love the.
I'd rather discover something like really wild than invent something really wild. Because like as soon as you invent something, that's cool for that first few minutes, and then it becomes like all about hey, get it out there, get it patented, like all that boring stuff getting credit. I'd rather just discover like some natural. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
My fiance was watching Gilmore Girls last night.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, it was Feed Phil or something like that. Anyway, they said that this guy, local guy, painter, invented a color. Now I thought he shouldn't say he invented a color because colors are natural in nature. He invented a pigment, like a unique pigment in the paint. Am I being pedantic? Like, is it okay to say this dude invented a color just for like quick speak to the layman, or is that overstepping?
If I wrote the script for that, I would say he discovered a new color.
That's really good. Yeah.
Because I feel like every color exists somewhere. We just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
And we don't know how to
Yeah,
make it.
I think you're right.
So that's what I would do.
Okay. Good to know you're on my side.
Yes. I would be like, he didn't invent shit. You can't invent that. Get out of here. I don't know.
it's all just semantics at that point. I feel. Yeah, if the color, if it already exists, well then again, yeah, if it exists already in nature and we haven't come across that combination or seen that color yet, you're just.
That's a good point. Yeah. If it is a truly novel color, then yeah, maybe we can say he discovered / invented it.
Yeah. That I like that discussion. That's interesting.
I feel
right.
like we're really getting
We're
progress here on major human issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of human issues, Jason, you get a phone call. Andy and Steven have been arrested. What was their crime?
Robbed precious video game prototypes that were behind lock and key at Nintendo or Sony headquarters.
Wow.
That's
Yeah, I say this because that would also be what I would be arrested for.
Andy.
I have a good one.
All right, here's your good one, and then I'm going to ask the final question.
I'm going to do I'm going to do a twist on an old favorite.
Okay.
All right, so Jason, you're sitting in your living room with your fiance, and you're both getting ready to go for a nice walk in the park or for a nice little date, something romantic. Okay.
Okay.
And you're both getting dressed, and she has her socks and her shoes beside her, and you notice she puts them on sock shoe. Do you A, ask for the engagement ring back, or B, call the local authorities to have her arrested immediately? Or is it option C? It's you ignore it and then pray you don't get like axe murdered at some point in the future.
I think that's I think that's how I'd do it. What would you do?
Do you find one?
Double socking it? Like, what do you do?
No. Like, you put the sock on one foot, then the sock on the other foot, and then the shoe on, and the shoe on. But she puts on a sock first, 2 bare feet, gets one sock on the bare foot, then puts a sneaker over the sock foot, leaving one bare foot and one sneaker foot.
And then
I see what you mean now.
So
I was thinking of the procedure, but now that you mention it, the state of being fully socked and shoed and barefoot, that's pretty bad.
So you lean over and observe this, and you're like, who are you? What's going on here?
I'd go with B, because I feel like, sure, I can take back the engagement ring and that solves my issue, but society at large is still at risk. So
this is true. This is true.
B, yeah.
All right, Jason. Now you've had 4 years to think about this question, and it is the most difficult question you'll ever have to answer in your entire life. Almost as long as you've been. It's not 4 years, 3 years. It's almost as long as you've been developing the game. Okay, you've had to just really mull over this question. It's a simple question. Anybody can answer it. The question is, Andy or Steve?
Like, in what context?
Any context.
That's the beauty of it, Jason.
Is this like a Oscar array sort of question?
This is we have an Excel spreadsheet to count how many we get. How many?
Do you have an actual spreadsheet?
I think I do. I think I might have.
I would like to see the figures on that.
But
yeah, the context is yours, Jason.
Yeah, it's all you.
It's all for
science.
Let's say you pick one of us, then the other can say, well, he picked the worst one out of the two to make us feel better. But it's all on you. How you answer this question.
Which one of you guys is the one that I'm in the DM with in Discord?
Oh, that'd be me.
Okay, well, Andy. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I was closer to another artist of the game for a little while, and then that person vanished on us. I don't know if you remember.
Who was that?
What was the name, Andy?
Oh, Shad.
Shad. Yeah, Shad.
Oh, you knew Shad for a while, but you don't.
Well, Shad Kate was on the show the last time with you.
Oh yes.
So-
okay, gotcha.
So I was
gotcha.
speaking to
Yeah.
Shad for a while and then not. But yeah.
And then not.
And then not. I don't know. Lose track of people every now and again.
I think Shad would be on this conversation if he finished up with his Monster Crown work like almost 2 years ago now.
Wow.
Like the art was all done, right? And it just had to be finished, put all together, and build a game and get the bugs worked out and that kind of stuff. So
That's awesome.
Shad's been focusing on new stuff since then, which is kind of cool because starting on new projects is always awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, we wish Shad luck. All the luck. All of it.
Absolutely.
Well, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. We did it. We got there. A couple of technical
It was a lot of
difficulties
fun.
later. We did it. Everything's fine. Andy, is there anything you want to tell the kids before we go?
Go buy this game because it's out right now.
Yes. Yes, it
It's
is.
possible.
ASAP as possible. I can't.
Thanks
actually,
for that.
I'm re-excited about it. Actually, I want to like get back into. I want to start afresh. Hopefully, not lose my starter monster. Go through and just play.
Just get good. Just gotta get good.
I was getting pretty damn good at it too. Like I own their. Never mind. I digress, folks. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at Duel_Screens. I am at BadChild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/DS podcasts. If you want to follow us on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/DuelScreenStreams. I am also on Twitch where I will be streaming Monster Crown when it comes out. You can find that at twitch.tv/BatChild. Also look for our review, which is probably out now when you're watching this. So go to dualscreens.com if you want to read that review or watch the video review. That's right, Andy. We're going to do a video review. I'm telling you now. We have a month before the game is out, so we're gonna get it done. Where could everybody follow you, Jason? Where could everybody follow Monster Crown and all that fun stuff?
On Twitter, we're crowns_dev. That's the best place to follow us, or follow the game on Steam, just Monster Crown. And yeah, you'll find our Discord at those locations as well, so you can join us. And thanks so much to both of you for having me on this podcast once again.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it, and it's one of the most fun online conversations I've ever had.
Go on.
That's really good.
Go on. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, listeners and viewers. And as always, please be excellent to each other.